and welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And on this week's episode, I'm doing part 2, the conclusion, to my in-depth look at the complete catalog to date of the Pet Shop Boys. That's right, Pet Shop Boys, who of course are Neil Tennant on vocals and Chris Lowe, the master, on keyboards. And I'm going to be picking up right where I left off in last week's video. If you didn't watch last week's video, I highly recommend you watch last week's video first, as in that video, I give you a brief history on the Pet Shop Boys and their achievements to date. And we cover the entire catalog of their output, musical output, from 1984 through 1999. And in this video, I'm going to be picking up right where I left off, starting in at the year 2000 and going right up to now, 2022, and showing you guys their complete output of work in that period of time. And just like last week, I'm doing an homage to Mr. Chris Lowe, who always wears a hat and some sort of crazy glasses on stage and in public life. It's the Chris Lowe look, and I'm happy to sport the Chris Lowe look today. And of course, wearing a Super Tour hoodie from their last tour and hat. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Pet Shop Boys this September in a 2-year postponed concert that was supposed to happen in September 2020. It was pushed till 2021 because of the pandemic, and then pushed again from 2021 to September this year. And I'm really looking forward to that concert because Pet Shop Boys put on a fantastic show, and I've seen every Pet Shop Boy tour that's come through Toronto. And this September, it's a double-header tour with two headliners, New Order and Pet Shop Boys. So that's going to be a dream concert. So let's get on with the music here. Like I said, I highly recommend watching part 1 first before this video. But if you decide to just continue watching this video first and then catch up with part 1 after, part 1 will be linked at the end of this video. Before we get started here, though, I'm just going to swap out of these glasses into my regular glasses, so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing today. And so let's do that right now. And just like magic, once again, the glasses are gone. I've got my regular glasses. So let's just put those over here and get a move on. So the Pet Shop Boys, as I left off last week in 1999, had put out 7 studio albums to that date, and they would put out an additional 7 studio albums from 2000 up till now. And they're not done yet. They are always recording new music, and they will be releasing much more music in the future. What I'm showing you in the last video and this video are just a drop in the bucket of the stuff that's available for Pet Shop Boys. I have over 100 pieces in my collection, and it's by no means complete. There are so many CD singles out there, 7-inch singles, vinyl, 12-inch vinyl singles, different mixes, so many different mixes of things. And they even have a lot of digital-only content that they've released as well. My collection is pretty large, and I've got most things. And what I'm showing you last week and this week is maybe 2/3 of my collection. There's no way I could show it all to you. I'm just picking some of my favorite pieces from their collection. So we're picking up in 2000. Their last album in 1999 was Nightlife. And in 2001, they would actually get involved in a play. That's right. They would write the music and help write a play called Closer to Heaven. There is a soundtrack for it, a cast recording. I don't have the cast recording. It's kind of hard to get. But there is a cast recording of Closer to Heaven out there on CD. And the Pet Shop Boys wrote the music for Closer to Heaven. And Closer to Heaven was actually a song on the Nightlife album. But in 2001, the play would come out. And I believe the play premiered in London. And it did very well. So that kind of kept Neil and Chris busy doing the Closer to Heaven musical theater play. But in 2002, they would return, and that Closer to Heaven came out in, I believe it was October of 2001. And in April of 2002, the Pet Shop Boys would return with their 8th studio album, and that album was titled Release. And let me just get this right way up. That album was titled Release. This is the recent remaster and reissue from a couple of years ago. Release. from 2002. And this dropped in, I believe it was April. Yes, April of 2002. This album dropped. A really fantastic album. And a very original album in their entire library, in that this is the first album that they would actually have an entire band perform on. All the albums to date and things they've done to date were pretty much Chris Lowe doing all the music and Neil Tennant doing the vocals. But they decided to do something a little different, to add some acoustic flavor to the album, to add a full band to the album. So they added a percussionist and a drummer and a guitar to this album, and it would be their first album to actually have guitar and drums and bass and other instruments in the album. And I love this album. It's such a beautiful album. It's got one of their most beautiful songs they ever released, Home and Dry. And if you've never seen the video about this little mouse trying to get home, in walking along in the sewers and the streets in the storm, and this poor little mouse trying to get home. It's such a heartwarming music video. I highly suggest checking it out. But Home and Dry, a fantastic song. There were a number of singles from this album, Home and Dry being my favorite from this album. But when this album originally dropped, it didn't drop on vinyl. Of course, it dropped on CD. And I was really blessed to be given by a friend of mine who works in the music industry. I was really blessed to be given this advanced promo CD version of the release album. An advanced promo CD, which actually had, and it even says on here, new single, Home and Dry, in stores March 18th, 2002. New album is now printing and in stores April 2022. So this was really a really cool CD, and really blessed to have this promo CD. And this was basically what they gave to radio stations and such. People are promoting the album. It even had a little notes in here. Pet Shop Boys have completed their new studio album for release in spring of 2022. Mirroring the direction of the new album, Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe will be joined by 2 guitarists and a percussionist. 8 of the album's 10 tracks feature Johnny Marr on guitar, but he will not be touring with them as he has other commitments. Chris Lowe comments, "We're really proud of these new songs and can't wait to play them. What for us different venues, Pet Shop Boys' new single Home and Dry will be released by Parlophone in March." So it's kind of cool. It had 10 tracks on here, and it actually had some bonus tracks on here. Home and Dry, the B&J remix, Sexy Northerner Break for Love club mix, and Home and Dry B&J dub, which I've never seen those two B&J mixes, which I believe was Blank and Jones. I've never seen those mixes anywhere else but on this CD. Don't know whatever happened to them. But that was a pre-release disc that I was blessed to get. And for those of you that didn't see last week's video, I comment on the fact that all of Pet Shop Boys' albums have one-word titles. They've always had one-word titles for their albums, and this album was no different, entitled Release. But when the album originally came out, it came like this on CD with a slipcase, and the actual album was inside like so. This one would be the album, and it had, of course, a really nice booklet inside. Once again, keeping their simple design concept artistically of their albums. Have always had very simple covers. But what was cool about this one is that the shrink wrap had, of course, the sticker on it. That's why I've kept it in the shrink. And they had, I think it was 4 different versions of this flower. There were actually 4 different versions of this flower. And so you could buy it in different colored slip cases with different versions of the flower. And if you notice on this one, the flower looks like so. And I don't know if you can pick it up here, but a different version of the flower on this one. So once again, the Pet Shop Boys always would do something very unusual with their CD releases and do some sort of limited thing. And Release was no different in having 4 different covers for the actual album. And after Release would spawn a couple of singles, like I said, did very well for itself. I love Release. It's such an original album, and the only one in their music library like that, with guitars and percussion. But then, of course, we would move on from 2002. They did a big tour of Release. I went to see the tour, and it was really a great tour. It was almost like going to see an Unplugged concert, but it still had all of the the wonderful keyboards of Chris Lowe. But the extra musicians on stage really added a really great dynamic to their tours. And they've actually continued to have multiple extra musicians on stage. Even the Super Tour, they had multiple percussionists on stage with them and even another keyboardist. So they've expanded their stage show to include all other musicians, whereas in their early stage shows, concerts, it was just Chris and Neil out on stage. And things like drums were all programmed by Chris. So the next release from the Pet Shop Boys would be in September of the same year, 2002, when they would drop the third volume in a series of albums they had been doing from the start, entitled Disco. The first Disco, of course, if you watched my last video, dropped right after their first album, Please, and then their second volume of Disco dropped right after their very album in 1994. So volume number 3 of Disco would release in September of 2002, simply titled Disco 3 by the Pet Shop Boys. Only available on CD to this date. A wonderful collection, and just as with Discos 1 and 2, it would contain remixes on here from the release album. Not too many, just a couple things, but a whole bunch of new tracks, a whole bunch of extra tracks. And as I talked about in my previous video, Pet Shop Boys, the number of extra tracks the Pet Shop Boys have put out compared to albums, if you add up all the extra tracks they've put out, you would easily fill another 14 albums worth of music. They've put out such a massive volume of extra tracks, not cutting room floor tracks, just fantastic extra tracks. The Pet Shop Boys are always recording music, and they believe in dropping it whenever they record it. So they're always dropping extra tracks on CDs and 12-inch and so on, and even digitally. And of course, this album would follow a slightly different path than the previous two versions of Disco, whereas Disco 1 was all remixes of the singles from Please with a couple extra songs, and Disco 2, the same idea, remixes of songs from Behavior and Very with a couple of new songs. This would only have a couple remixes of songs from Release and a whole pile of new extra tracks, unreleased tracks, some fabulous songs, including a single, Sexy Northerner, which would be on here, but some really, really fabulous tracks on here. But some remix also from the Release album, Disco 3. Then we move on. I believe coming up next would be 2005 would be the next thing that the Pet Shop Boys were released from. Because, of course, they were extensively touring the Release album in 2002, 2003. But 2005 would be the next project the Pet Shop Boys would get involved with. And this time they did a soundtrack for a film. That's right, a soundtrack for the film. And rather than calling themselves Pet Shop Boys in the soundtrack for the film, they went under the moniker of Tennant and Lowe. That's right, Tennant and Lowe instead of Pet Shop Boys. But it was basically the same thing. And they worked with an orchestra. And what they did was do a soundtrack to a film, a 1920s silent film about a documentary film about a Russian battleship, the battleship Potemkin. And it was a long lost silent film, which had a silent film. And I think people used to, the silent films, they'd have piano music and whatnot, and orchestral music would play live in the theater next to these silent films. So this silent film had been restored and released, and Pet Shop Boys, under the moniker of Tennant and Lowe, would actually record a soundtrack album to Battleship Potemkin, which came out in 2005. And this is a great spin, and there's one really, really great typical Pet Shop Boys song on here as well, besides this being a score for a movie. So Pet Shop Boys have kind of done everything. They've done musical theater, they've done movies, and there's going to be some more things coming up that you're going to see soon as well. But Battleship Potemkin from 2005, a really great spin, and really great to have to complete if you're a completist, to have for the Pet Shop Boys collection. This one's only available on CD, and it's a little bit hard to find, but I think it's still not too bad to get out there. Battleship Potemkin by Tennant and Lowe, otherwise known as the Pet Shop Boys, from 2005. Also in 2005, they would do a remix for an album that had dropped by Madonna. I believe it was called Confessions on the Dance Floor, a fantastic Madonna album. And they would partner up with Madonna when she released the Sorry single from that album. And this is the Sorry maxi CD maxi single, in which there was on here, one of the remixes was the Sorry maxi mix. The PSB maxi mix running in at close to 8.5 minutes. A really, really great mix with Pet Shop Boys and Madonna sharing vocals. Sorry maxi mix from 2005. Just a sample of some of the things they were doing, and they've always worked with other artists and remixed other artists' musics, and we'll be getting to that very soon in another CD I'm going to show you here, which is all remixes of other artists. Then comes 2006, and we would get into their next studio album, their 9th studio album, called Fundamental. That's right, Fundamental from 2006. Another great, great, great spin. A return to more traditional Pet Shop Boys styled music in there. They tried a lot of different things on this album. It would actually have the second song that Chris Lowe has done vocals on. The first song that Chris Lowe had ever done vocals on was Pananario. Way back in 1985, Chris Lowe would do vocals on the song Pananario. And on this album, Chris Lowe would return and do vocals on a song, and the song was Numb. But this is another great spin. It had a couple of great singles on here. The Sodom and Gomorrah Show. Minimal was a great single on here. I'm With Stupid was a great single. It was a jab at British Parliament. I'm With Stupid, and Integral, a fantastic spin. 2006, which would be followed by the Fundamental tour called the Cubism Tour, which I was blessed to see as well. Fundamental 2006, and of course that's a recent remaster reissue. When it originally dropped, it dropped on CD only. And once again, I was blessed to be able to get the limited edition 2 CD. And as I've talked about in the previous video, Pet Shop Boys would always release a regular version of the album on CD and then a limited edition. And the limited edition ones are really hard to get. So if you don't get them on when they first drop, chances are you won't. And this is the 2 CD version of Fundamental. And Fundamental came in a black box, sort of like Release It done with the white and pink CD. I think it has a pink and an orange CD in here, if I remember right. A pink and an orange CD. So once again, a super limited edition version of Fundamental on CD, and the second disc contained a whole bunch of remixes as well as some extra tracks as well, some new extra songs. Fundamental, the 2-disc version. And then moving along, we would get into our next thing, which is the first live album from the Pet Shop Boys. The Pet Shop Boys, to this date, had not released any live albums. They had released a couple of live videos, the Nightlife Tour montage video and the Live in Rio on Laserdisc, but they had never released any live music on CD. And they did a broadcast, which was on May 8th of 2006 in the Mermaid Theatre with the BBC Orchestra backing them up. A really cool concert. It was a radio broadcast, beautifully done, which was originally only, and to this day is actually only on CD or digital. They would broadcast this show, and it was such a good performance that they actually ended up releasing it on CD. And once again, a one-word title, Concrete, the Pet Shop Boys. And this is the first live recording outing on CD. It's Pet Shop Boys with the BBC Orchestra. And it is fantastic. It's still classic Pet Shop Boys music, but that added strings into it just really brought the music alive. And they decided to release that concert on a CD. So the first time a live recording of Pet Shop Boys had been released in 2006, and that was on CD only. Concrete by the Pet Shop Boys. Once again, a one-word title. Then moving again forward, we'd have the next thing that would come out would be the next in the Disco series. Remember, I just talked about the Disco series a minute ago. Well, the fourth and final to date installment of Disco released in October of 2007. And this is it here, and it is entitled Disco 4, only available on CD, Disco 4. And this time, it wasn't backing any album like, Disco 1 being Please, Disco 2 being Very, and Disco 3 being Release. This one was not really on the heels of any album. This was a complete remix, like I just said a minute ago, like they'd done for Madonna. This is remixes of songs for other artists. Pretty much all the songs on here are remixed of other artists. And on this, you had the Killers' Read My Mind remix by the Pet Shop Boys. David Bowie with the Pet Shop Boys doing Hello Space Boy, a remix of that with David Bowie and the Pet Shop Boys, a fabulous standalone single, Hello Space Boy. A remix of Integral from the Fundamental album. Yoko Ono's Walking on Thin Ice. The famous Yoko Ono song, which honestly I find horrid to listen to, but the PSB mix of Yoko's Walking on Thin Ice is fantastic. They really brought that song to life. Yoko Ono's Walking on Thin Ice, the Pet Shop Boys Electro mix. Madonna's Sorry, a different version, a different mix from that maxi single of Madonna's Sorry is on here. Atomizer and Hooked on Radiation, the Pet Shop Boys Orange Alert mix. Rammstein, the group Rammstein, and Mind Tail, Pet Shop Boys. There are no guitars on this mix. And Pet Shop Boys, I'm with Stupid remix. So it did slightly support the Fundamental album, but was mostly remixes of other artists' songs. And that was Disco 4, and that's the last disco they have done, which dropped in 2007. We'll see if they do a Disco 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a Disco 5. Because they have recently done a remix of another artist song, which I'll mention at the end of this video, which just came out last week. So Disco 4, 2007, in October of 2007. And in 2009, it was March of 2009, that their next album would come out. Their 10th studio album, entitled Yes. And this is the recent final remaster and reissue of Yes by the Pet Shop Boys. And this is another one of my favorites from their entire catalog. I might put this in as maybe my third favorite, or at least tie as my third favorite Pet Shop Boys album. It's definitely in my top 5 Pet Shop Boys albums. Yes, a fantastic album. I love this album. From 2009. It had a lot of really great singles on it. Love Inc., Love Etc. was a single. All Over the World, a fantastic single. Did You See Me Coming? Another big single. And Pandemonium, as well as there was one more single. Vulnerable was another single as well. So this had 4 very successful singles. Yes, by Pet Shop Boys from 2009. And of course, this also had released originally only on CD. And I once again managed to snag a copy of the limited edition version. And you could tell the limited edition version from the regular version by the black cover instead of the white cover. This was the limited edition made in Holland version of Yes, with a bonus disc. Once again, you had CD1 was the album, and CD2 a bunch of remixes of songs from the album and a couple of extra tracks as well. Yes, from 2009, another fantastic outing from the Pet Shop Boys. Love that album, absolutely love it. Highly recommend Yes by Pet Shop Boys. Next thing up would be in the fall of 2009 when they would release one of their only few actual EPs. And the extended plays, they've only really done a couple extended plays. They've done tons of 12-inch singles, for sure. They've done tons of 12-inch singles, 7-inch singles, but they've never really done any EPs. And this would be their second EP. The first one was In Depth, but this would be their only second EP ever that they would release. And this one currently is only available on CD, and it was called Christmas. Pet Shop Boys Christmas EP, which contained 5 tracks on here. A wonderful song called My Girl, a new version of a song they had actually previously released as an extra track on a single called It Doesn't Often Snow at Christmas, which is their Christmas song. A new version of that song was on here. a new version of All Over the World from Yes is on here. And another very popular single that dropped from this album was a mix, a performance of Viva La Vida by Coldplay crossed with Domino Dancing. They did a recording just as they had done back in 1991 on their Discography album. They had done Where the Streets Have No Name mixed with I Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. They recorded Viva La Vida, the famous Coldplay song, mixed with their own Domino Dancing. A fabulous, fabulous spin. And then there was also a extended version of My Girl on here. But a fabulous EP if you can find it. Pet Shop Boys Christmas, only available on CD. And that dropped in 2009. Next up in 2010, February 2010, they would release their next album, which would be a live album. It would be their second live album. Of course, the first one being that Concrete a couple of years earlier, which was recorded, which was a radio broadcast performance with the BBC orchestra. This would be their official first live album. They'd never released a live album other than that Concrete album. But this would be their first live tour, live from tour album. And it would release on CD and DVD only. And it was called Pandemonium, of course, from the Pandemonium tour of 2009, supporting the Yes album. And this 2-disc CD set, DVD set, would come out February 2010. It would be the first actual CD of the Pet Shop Boys live in concert, like a regular concert. A fabulous concert. I saw the tour. It was part of a music festival here in Toronto when it came. But I just went to the music festival only to see the Pet Shop Boys and then left. But Pandemonium, it's a 2-disc set, of course, with a DVD and a CD. And like I said, the CD is the show, and the DVD is, of course, the same show. But also on the DVD, there was some music videos on here from the Yes album. All the music videos from the Yes album were on here, as well as the performance from the Brit Awards, where they were received their award for their lifetime contribution to music, and they did a medley of all their famous hits, which included Lady Gaga performing with them. So that's all included on this video as well. A fabulous performance, a fabulous video. If you'd never seen the Pet Shop Boys in concert in the previous 2 concert DVDs, now you got a DVD and music CD of them live in 2010 with Pandemonium. Pet Shop Boys live at the O2 Arena, recorded in December of 2009 in the O2 Arena. Next thing to come up would be a compilation album. That would be the next thing that would show up. And this one would drop in November of 2010. Just had to check my notes there. This one dropped in November of 2010. So earlier in the year, we had the live album. In February, we had a live album from the Pet Shop Boys. And in September, we had a compilation album from the Pet Shop Boys called Ultimate Pet Shop Boys. That's right, Ultimate Pet Shop Boys. An updated compilation album of the Pet Shop Boys. Their last compilation album had been in 2003, which I didn't show you. I'll be showing you a version of that. It was called Pop Art. One word again. All their albums, one word. Pop Art came out in 2003, and it was an updated greatest hits package from their discography of 1991. So in 2003, they released that. And in 2010, they would release Ultimate. Once again, a one-word title. Ultimate Pet Shop Boys. And this is the limited edition. Once again, I always go for those limited editions. It came out on CD, but if you were lucky, you could pick up this limited edition, which was CD and DVD. And the DVD on here featured 27 Pet Shop Boys BBC TV performances, plus their 2010 Glastonbury Festival show. So you got all the Top of the Pops and all those. You got all the BBC TV appearances by the Pet Shop Boys. 27 videos of the Pet Shop Boys appearing on BBC television, Top of the Pops shows and things like that. Plus a full concert of their Glastonbury performance as well on this DVD. So really special if you can find this limited edition, which included the bonus disc. But I know the regular CD version is still out there as well. Ultimate Pet Shop Boys, updating once again their greatest hits collection, and this one featured 19 of their greatest hits on this album from 2010. So the next thing the Pet Shop Boys would drop after their ultimate compilation album in 2010 would be in 2011, when they would do something completely out of left field. Not really out of left field when you know their history, because they had done musical theater. They had done soundtracks for films. So the next thing they took a stab at and tried their hand in was they wrote a ballet. That's right, a ballet. And it dropped in 2011. It was called The Most Incredible Thing, and it was a ballet written and recorded by the Pet Shop Boys. A 2-disc ballet, a 3-act ballet that went on out in theaters, Act 1 and 2 on disc 1, and Act 3 on disc 2. And this beautiful package includes a beautiful book that talks all about the ballet and everything to do with the recording and the lyrics and everything to do with the ballet. The Most Incredible Thing, a ballet by the Pet Shop Boys. That's right, a ballet. And they went under Tennant and Lowe again for this. So to disassociate their music as being Pet Shop Boys music, just as with Battleship Potemkin, they went under the handle of Tennant and Lowe for this ballet, The Most Incredible Thing. Fantastic spin. Really, really different. There's nothing the Pet Shop Boys haven't tried. There really is nothing they haven't tried. And the next thing up would be in 2012. In the spring of 2012, they would drop their next compilation. And the previous one to this had been alternative. So please watch my video, because I talk about alternative in my first part. But this one was called Format. Pet Shop Boys Format. It was a 2-CD collection of all their extra songs, just as they had done with Alternative in 1995, the second volume like that of extra songs. And as I mentioned, they have such a huge body of extra music out there that they once again would collect up the best of some of that extra music and do 2 full CDs, so the equivalent of 4 albums worth of music in this box set. And this beautiful box has 2 CDs and a booklet in it. That this is basically the same as Alternative, a new version, 2012 collection of all sorts of extra Pet Shop Boys music called Format. Fantastic collection, one-word title once again, lovely artwork. Format from 2012, a collection of all sorts of B-sides, if you can even call them B-sides, because at that point there are really no more singles. Extra songs, I like to just call them extra songs, non-album songs by the Pet Shop Boys. And this had like 50 songs or 40, 38 extra songs by the Pet Shop Boys in that collection. Then in September of 2012 would come the next official Pet Shop Boys album, and it was entitled Elysium. Elysium would be the next album out of the door, the next studio album out of the door for Pet Shop Boys. Elysium, a much more laid-back album. It really wasn't a dance kind of album as previous albums. They kind of went for a more laid-back approach on this album. I think it's probably their lowest charting album, but it's still a fantastic album. I love this album. It had 3 great singles on it. Leaving, Winner, and Memory of the Future were all big singles, very popular singles, but it wasn't a high charting album. Elysium from September of 2012. This is, of course, a recent remaster reissue of Elysium from 2012. It did come out actually a few years ago on vinyl as well, but this is the remaster of Elysium from 2012. The original version came, of course, out on CD, and once again, I was blessed to get the box set version, the limited edition box set version of Elysium, and rather than the single CD, this is the limited edition box version, which was 2 CDs once again. The first CD was the Elysium album, and the second CD was the Elysium album, complete Elysium album in instrumental, all the vocals stripped away. Strictly an instrumental version of Elysium, something different that once again they had never done anything like. So this was Elysium, and then the bonus CD was a vocals stripped out instrumental version of Elysium, a limited edition once again. Next up would be 2013, hot on the heels. I mean, in 2012 they released Elysium, fantastic album, and in 2013, in actually July of 2013. Not even a year later, they would release their next studio album. And these studio albums were, of course, produced by Stuart Price. They started working with Stuart Price, who signed on to do a trilogy of albums with the Pet Shop Boys. A trilogy of albums. They wanted to return back to more of their classic dance roots, and hence the names of these next three albums would definitely follow that suit. So in 2013, July, they dropped Electric, the first of a trilogy of dance albums produced by Stuart Price. And I love this album. This may be tied, one of the ones that would tie for third place in my list of albums by Pet Shop Boys. Electric by Pet Shop Boys. Fantastic spin. The tour that accompanied this tour was incredible. This album had a bunch of singles on it. Love is a Bourgeoisie Construct. I love that song. Fluorescent. In The Last to Die, which was a cover of the Bruce Springsteen song Last to Die. And Shouting in the Evening. Thursday, featuring Example, sharing vocals with a R&B artist called by the name of Example. So it spawned a couple really popular singles. I love this album. It definitely maybe tied for my third favorite Pet Shop Boys album. Electric from 2013. And this is an original. This is the original first press from 2013 of Electric. And this is the CD version of Electric. And they'd written the songs for Electric while touring. If I remember the story right, they'd actually written the songs for Electric while touring the Elysium album in a few places. So this album just dropped less than a year later. And what an album. It was a spectacular return to form. Did much better than Elysium. They were back on the top. They're doing that dance sound again. Electric from 2013. Moving on. We're getting down to the last couple albums they've released so far. We're up to the 13th studio album now, where we've moved up to 2016, April 1st, 2016. They would release the second of the trilogy of the albums, entitled Super. And of course, like I said, this is what I'm wearing is from the Super tour, and this is Super from 2016, April 1st, 2016. Super dropped, and this particular version is on a beautiful white vinyl. Super in a gatefold jacket. Super 2016 on a great white vinyl. And this album is fantastic too. You know, like this whole trilogy of albums, I could probably say tie as my third place album. This thing was just so good. The Pop Kids, a fantastic single. 20 Something, a fantastic single. Inner Sanctum, which I'll show you in a second, also a great single, and was the tour opening song for the tour. It was actually a real trance and techno song. Undertow, which was another big single, and Burn, another single, and Say It To Me. This album was just full of singles, a fantastic album, a super album. Super from 2016. Here's the CD version of that album. The vinyl version had an orange dot. The CD had the pink dot. And it spawned, like I said, a few singles. This is the Inner Sanctum maxi mix single, which had the Carl Craig C2 Juiced remix, and the first and second demos and an album version of Inner Sanctum. I love this song. It's an instrumental song. There's only one spoken line in the whole song, or one sung line, spoken song. I think it's more spoken. But basically an instrumental track, a fantastic techno trance track. Pet Shop Boys doing a little bit of that sort of music. And here's another popular 12-inch single from that album, Undertow. This is the Tough City Kids remix, which also had a brand new remix of the classic Left to My Own Devices. The Super mix was on here, which was, of course, originally released on their introspective album in 1988. But for the Super tour, they completely remixed the song, changed the beat and the timing and everything around. So you get the Super version of Left to My Own Devices, as well as Undertow, the Tough City Kids dub, and Burn, the Bubba Stilts remix. A great remix 12-inch. And next up would be an EP that dropped in 2019. It would be their next release, the third official EP they had released. And this one was interesting in how it was released, and I'll show you where the CD version of this album came from. But this was originally dropped as digital and vinyl only. No CD version of this album was dropped. It was only dropped digitally and on vinyl. And it was their third official EP called Agenda. That's right, their first official EP called Agenda by the Pet Shop Boys, 2019. And what this EP was about, it was a look at social media and the internet. It was a 4-song EP and looking at situations in the world. It was very much looking at the world as the world was in 2019. And who knew that in at the end of 2019 there would be a pandemic. So did they know something that we didn't know? But yeah, this was a look at the world. 2019's Agenda. It had Give Stupidity a Chance, was the first track. On Social Media, a look at social media. What Are We Gonna Do About the Rich? A look at the rich. All the song titles were kind of self-explanatory. And The Forgotten Child. I love this EP, a fantastic EP. Agenda, which is only on vinyl and digital, like on iTunes or whatnot. The CD version, super rare and super expensive. And I'll show you the CD version in a few minutes. Agenda from 2019. And next up is their 14th and latest studio album to date. That would drop, but before it dropped, they would drop a lead-off single entitled Dreamland, featuring Years and Years, a very popular young artist out of the UK, Years and Years. This is the 12-inch single. This would drop in, I think it was late September, this one dropped, of 2019. Years and Years with the Pet Shop Boys doing Dreamland, and it came out on both a CD single and a 12-inch single. Dreamland from Years and Years and the Pet Shop Boys. Lead-off single to their new 14th studio album. Then in December, they would drop yet another single. And this one they originally launched exclusively on their website. That you could only buy this on their website. And it was their first 7-inch single in years. They hadn't done a 7-inch single in well over 20 years. I think the last 7-inch single was early 1990s. So it was their return to doing a 7-inch single, and it was another lead-off single from the new album called Burning the Heather. And this is the lead-off 7-inch single that originally you could only get on their website. I believe it has been released a little wider now, but originally it was released only on their website. I might be wrong on that. Burning the Heather, which I purchased directly from the Pet Shop Boys website. Burning the Heather, their first 7-inch single in a long, long time. And it had some extra tracks on the flip side as well. A song called Decide, which to this date you can only get on the flip side of the 7-inch. A song called Decide, a fantastic song, which to this date you can only get on this 7-inch. And then in February of 2020, in the height of the pandemic, would drop the official 14th studio album by the Pet Shop Boys. I've shown this album before on my show, and it was called Hotspot. One of my favorite albums of 2020, Hotspot. And this particular version was one of 500 that I was able to purchase from the website. I pre-ordered this album, of course, being a big Pet Shop Boys. I pre-ordered this right from the Pet Shop Boys website, and it included a autograph by both Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe, an autographed lithograph that you can frame, put on your wall. So there's an autograph in here, which was fantastic. Autographed version of the album, autographed lithograph. I actually have another autograph of the Pet Shop Boys. I have a big poster from their Super Tour, which was signed at the show by both the Pet Shop Boys, and it's framed and sits in my bedroom. An actual framed poster from the show that both Neil and Chris signed for me at the show. Fantastic. And it's a very rare poster print as well. There were only 200 of the posters printed and to be signed. So there you go, Hotspot, a fantastic album. And this album would put them big on the charts again in 2020. They went into the top 3 once again. The Pet Shop Boys would return. They had not had a top 10 ranking album since the 90s. They'd always charted well. They'd always sold, sold very well. But they actually, this album hit the top 3 in the UK. It was a top 3 charting album. Hotspot made the top 3, and the single that dropped when the album dropped in February was Monkey Business. And here is both the CD single version and 12-inch single version of Monkey Business. And this one dropped when the album dropped. And this was a top 10 charting single, Monkey Business, with, of course, some extra tracks, once again, on the album, on the single. A very, very successful song. The album, a very successful album, for their best-selling album, their best charting album in over 20 years. So really happy the Pet Shop Boys' last album, Hotspot, did so well. And, of course, besides that version of the album, I ordered from the website the limited edition CD again. Once again, like I said, you really got, if you're a Pet Shop Boys lover, you got to go after these first run CDs. This we could only get from the Pet Shop Boys website. It was not available online, Amazon or your local record store. You just got the regular CD version of the album. But this is the limited edition 2 CD version of Hotspot, which featured disc 1 was Hotspot, and disc 2, just like they had done with Elysium, a completely instrumental version of Hotspot on disc 2. They did that again for this one, a completely instrumental version of Hotspot on CD 2. A fantastic dance album. It's just a brilliant album, such a dancey, catchy album, great songs. And the final single from Hotspot, which would release in around June of, I think it was around June of 2020, the final single from that was I Don't Wanna. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out. Funny that I Don't Wanna became kind of a pandemic-y lyric, even though it was not intended as a pandemic lyric. It kind of became a pandemic lyric. I don't want to go out. And this is the 12-inch single and CD singles version of that song, I Don't Wanna. And that's the complete discography of the Pet Shop Boys to date. Just a few more things to show you here. I've got some videos and some books, actually, and a couple more CDs to show you here. And as in my previous video, I had shown you the Further Listening series done by the Pet Shop Boys, which were the remastered albums with bonus CDs of extra tracks and everything recorded around the time of that album. Well, in the 2000s, they would release 4 more volumes of the Further Listening series, which would take us through the album's release. So this is the remaster of Release, and this is a 3 CD set. So not only do you get Release on here, the remastered version of Release, but you get 2 full 80-minute CDs of all the extra material that was recorded between, I think it was 2001 and 2004. All the extra material that they'd recorded from 2001 through 2004, including things like the Closer to Heaven musical and the Disco 3 era and all that. A 3 CD set, Further Listening of Release. Then the next one would be the Further Listening version of Fundamental, which was a 2 CD set. Once again, having Further Listening, having music, everything recorded from 2005 through 2007 on this disc, as well as the remaster of Fundamental. The remaster of Yes, which again was a 3D set featuring everything recorded from 2008 through 2010, all the extra tracks, remixes, etc., and the remastered version of Yes, a 3 CD set. And then the last of the Further Listening series so far would be Elysium by the Pet Shop Boys, and this was a 2 CD set featuring, of course, Elysium remastered and all the stuff from 2011 and 2012. And I think, if I were to make a prediction, I predict that the next thing we will be seeing from the Pet Shop Boys in the way of music is going to be the Further Listening series for Electric, Super, and Hotspot. I think those will be due because they tend to do when they drop the Further Listening series, they seem to drop them all in groups of 2 or 3 at a time. So the only albums that haven't had the further listening treatment are their three latest, Electric, Super, and Hotspot. So I hope to see those. I have a feeling that might be the next thing we see from the Pet Shop Boys. But another thing that the Pet Shop Boys also have released and have been releasing the last few years, and I have a few volumes up here, I'm just going to show you a few volumes of them, is they release a book every year on their website, which is basically a diary of their previous year. Neil and Chris write a diary sort of thing, and they talk about what's going on in their life over the previous year. They call the series Annually, a one-word title once again, Pet Shop Boys Annually. This is Annually from 2019. They're hardcover books. They're limited to only 500 copies. And each one of these books would come with an exclusive CD of music that you can get nowhere else. And the one that came with the 2019 was the CD version of Agenda. And this actually came out before the actual vinyl version of Agenda. So the first time this dropped was on CD and only available in this book. And if you look on Discogs, these CDs from these Annually books are worth a fortune. The only way you can get Agenda on CD is with the Annually, which of course only had 500 copies printed. A really fabulous look into the life of the Pet Shop Boys. Then 2020's Annually would feature My Beautiful Laundrette, another play that the Pet Shop Boys had done music for. Another play, My Beautiful Laundrette, and this is the music from My Beautiful Laundrette, performed by the Pet Shop Boys, and the only place you can get this CD, and it's worth a small fortune, is right now. I think they have since dropped it digitally. Very recently they dropped a digital version, but originally only available, the only CD you can get of My Beautiful Laundrette is here, and it is a 7-track CD. And then last year's Annually, 2021, when the world is in a lockdown, the 2021 volume of Annually. I'm just waiting for pre-orders to open for hopefully there'll be a 2022 volume of Annually. And it came with an exclusive song called Cricket Wife. Another unusual recording by them. It's a 10-minute song called Cricket Wife, a very interesting song. I can't even describe it. It's not dance music. It's an oddity itself, but it's a cool song, Cricket Wife. And the third version of West End Girls. I'd mentioned in my previous video that the Pet Shop Boys have recorded the West End Girls song completely 3 different times in their life. The original version with Bobby Orlando, the version on their Please album, and this would be the third recording of West End Girls, which they released as a video during lockdown, and it's called West End Girls, new lockdown version, and it's only available in hard copy format on this CD with the Annually. And that's from last year, the new lockdown version of West End Girls. And the last couple things I'm going to show you here are some DVDs. I had talked about 2003's Pop Art, their compilation album from 2003. Well, Pop Art also released as a DVD, and this is the Pop Art DVD right here. It includes a wonderful, wonderful, big, thick book with all sorts of pictures. And this is a complete collection of all their music videos. And it is a total of 41 music videos from the beginning of their career, going back to Opportunities, Let's Make Lots of Money, and West End Girls, going right up to the end of the Release album. So this came out in 2003 after release. It's a collection of all their music videos right through the years, 41. I hope one day they'll do another volume, because there's been, obviously some more music videos from 2003 till now. Maybe they should do a Pop Art 2 or something. That would be kind of cool. Pop Art, collection of music videos on DVD. The Fundamental Tour, Cubism in concert, and this is November 14th, 2006 in Mexico City. So if you want to go check out their Fundamental Tour, this is the Cubism concert. Great watch. DTS DVD, the Cubism concert 2006. And last up on the show is this DVD Blu-ray CD combo called Inner Sanctum, and it is fantastic. Recorded at the Royal Albert Concert Hall. It is incredible. It includes not only a Blu-ray of the concert, but a DVD of a concert and the 2 CD of the concert. So it's their second full live concert album on CD, plus on Blu-ray and on DVD. You get everything. The Super Tour, a fantastic tour, probably the best tour they've ever done, an incredible visual show. That's the last thing they've released. And that's it. We've done through it all. We've gone through it all. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's been a labor of love. I know these were long episodes, but if you're a Pet Shop Boys fan, I hope you appreciated all the work I put into these long episodes. I hope you watch them. If you watch them in one sitting, fantastic. But I understand if you fast forwarded through some of it and watched what you wanted to watch, or watched it in stages. But I really loved doing this video. I know they were very long, but it was the only way to cover their entire discography. And they are still recording music to date. In fact, they dropped a brand new recording just last week. It's another remix of Claptone. It's from the new Claptone album. They've remixed a song from the new Claptone album. It dropped as a single. You can buy it digitally as a single on iTunes and listen to it on Spotify and whatnot. So they've just dropped a brand new remix of a song from the new Claptone album. Check it out. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more music from them coming very soon. I love these guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thumbs up always make people feel good. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my videos. I try to drop a video like this every week or so. And last but not least, comments welcome down below. I always reply to every comment I get. And if you're not following me on Instagram, follow my Instagram, which is at @AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I try to post my spin of the day every day, among other things. And that's it. That's all. That's my look at the complete catalog of the Pet Shop Boys. Check them out. They are legendary. They are fantastic. One of my top 5 artists of my lifetime. And I really enjoyed doing these videos. And I hope some of you enjoyed all the work I put into these videos. And I'll see you guys in my next video very soon. And as I always say, rock and roll!